A single mum who's qualified to represent Great Britain in the European and World Duathlon Championships says she'll struggle to compete if she can't find a sponsor. Tamina Oliver from Berkshire has overcome serious injury and surgery to qualify. I'm journalist Angela Walker, and in this podcast I talk to inspirational people and discuss underreported issues. Tamina, thanks for joining us. Before we get started, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe now and leave a comment. That will enable more people to find this podcast. And if you're listening, please leave us a review. First of all, congratulations on qualifying. How do you feel? What an achievement.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's very exciting. I'm really pleased. I'm also quite apprehensive because, as you know, I've qualified on 2 occasions before, and had to, well, on the first occasion, just could not compete because I was on crutches at the time. I had a serious freak injury, and the second time was sort of still rehabilitating and overcoming that injury, and had compensatory injury. So I'm just hoping that nothing goes wrong this time.
Third
and I
time
can
lucky.
actually get there. Yes,
Third time lucky.
Yeah.
So what was the injury that you had that you required surgery for then?
It was one of the main tendons in my left foot, so it was purely like a training run. It was a freak accident, and it just completely ruptured. So the surgeons had to sort of pull the 2 parts of the tendon back together and couldn't quite reach. So they sort of had to make a weird bridging gap thing with part of the tendon, and yes, so it was quite complex and quite a difficult surgery apparently.
Oh gosh, that must have been so frustrating.
It was yeah, unbearably frustrating. I did actually go. I went to the World Championships, but as I say, I was on crutches, so which was all the more frustrating actually because it was in Ibiza that year, and I knew other competitors, and the person who came second, I had won earlier on in the season, so it was sort of hit and miss whether I would have come second or third if the race had gone well, but I probably would have made it onto the podium. So yeah, it felt pretty difficult to watch, but also good experience to go and see kind of everything that it entailed and what the setup was like and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of us not familiar with duathlon, can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, well, I like to think of it a bit like a sandwich of running, then cycling, then running again. So it's basically that. It's a 2 sport event. So it's a run and then a cycle ride and then a run. And there are different distances. So when I first qualified, I did so for the standard distance and the sprint distance, but was sort of focusing more on the sprint distance, which is just slightly shorter. And on this occasion, I've just gone for the sprint distance. So decided that less running would perhaps result in less likelihood of injury.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I must say, over 10 years ago, I did a little bit of triathlon. I did, yeah, and I did a sprint triathlon. It was the swimming that was such a killer. And maybe I should have stuck with duathlon, but yeah.
Well, swimming, I mean, I first started after my injury in 2023. The first activity that the consultant said that I could kind of get back to get fit was swimming. So I did start swimming quite a lot that summer, and then I took part in something called an aqua bike event.
Okay.
And that's it doesn't involve running, so it's basically an open water swim and then a cycle ride. But I'm not a good swimmer. I mean, I can keep going for quite a long time endurance wise, but I'm far from elegant and far from fast and far from efficient. In this event, it's a 1.5 kilometre swim, and I entered it the week before, and it was on a Sunday, and it was up the river Ouse in, I can't remember, St Neots or something, and so it was up sort of part of the distance and then back, and out of all the people, all the women competing in the race, I was last to come back on the swim. But then, so I was the slowest on the swim, but then on the cycle bit, I was the fastest. So I ended up in the middle of the field, but it was quite funny.
It was the swimming that dragged you down.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're a single mum. Parenting is hard enough as it is anyway. You're also working, and you're juggling this with training at an elite level of sport. How do you manage it, Tamina?
Lots of early mornings. So I often get up at 5:30 and train for sort of an hour and a half before the school run and before then working. And I mean, one of the positive things about cycling is you can get turbo trainers, which means basically you can cycle going nowhere. It's stationary bicycling really. So I do that while Bear, my son, is still around and either in bed or sort of downstairs having his breakfast and reading his book. And then at the weekends I run with him in the buggy.
Amazing. But he's 7 now. He must be pretty heavy.
Well, yeah. When we run now, it's like pushing about 45 kilograms in addition.
No wonder you're so fit.
It's good. It's good for him. It's like resistance training. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun, and he actually enjoys it because he's got to the phase now where he likes to either listen to an audio book while he's in there, or he gets to watch telly, and that suits him down to the ground. So he does something and sort of sits there and lounges while I'm running along. So
doing all the hard work. Brilliant. Oh, it sounds fun. It's nice to do something together, isn't it? So it must cost an awful lot of money to compete internationally. What are the costs that are involved then? Because it's not just equipment, isn't it?
No, I mean, you have to buy the compulsory suit, which is at the very least £200, and then the international race license, and then the race entry fee for each race you do, travel and accommodation, and well, personally, I've found more recently I've had to do a lot of preventative sort of stuff, so osteopathy privately, because that doesn't come under the health service. I mean, I'm under an NHS physiotherapist at the moment, but at some point that'll come to an end, as they do. So yeah, lots of those kind of expenses and additional things that you don't normally think of. Obviously, as you said, the equipment, and you can spend tens of thousands, well, probably more than that, on kind of good, high quality bikes, which ideally, if you're competing at such a high level, you want sort of decent equipment.
Absolutely. You want the best equipment that you can get, so that you can perform at your very best. I mean, you're going to be representing Great Britain. So,
absolutely.
You need the best to show off your skills. So how do you go about getting funding then? How do you fund all this?
Well, a lot of it so far has been off my own back. I mean, I have, when I was racing, so I raced before having my son. So before 2017, I was in sort of professional teams, but cycling racing, not duathlon, and that was sort of covered through being in teams. But since then, I mean, a large part of it has been sort of off my own back, and that's really why I need help now, because I've sort of run out of funds for this particular thing, especially in the last couple of years when it's been a lot more because of all the preventative medicine and stuff like that. Yeah,
because you absolutely have to look after your body or you won't be able to compete at all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So how do you feel when you know that you've got the talent, you've got the commitment, you're so dedicated, you've proven that you're the best and that you've secured this place, and it's, you know, money is the sticking point. How does that make you feel?
Well, I try and look at it philosophically. It sometimes feels frustrating, and sometimes I can feel quite despondent about it. But it's a case of, well, there are lots of situations that other people are worse off, and I've had the experience of trying to get into this, and I've had other experiences, and actually there are things that are more important in life. My son is more important, friends, family, but it's something I really want to do. So at the same time, it's, I'm just trying my best to enable myself to get there and to be able to compete in the best possible manner I can. I'm certainly one who is more comfortable with very little gear and all the idea than all the gear and no idea. But I'd prefer to have, all the gear and all the idea.
Absolutely. And you deserve to go because you've earned that through your dedication. Is there any kind of like government funding for people in your situation?
No, I mean, I'm going through my employer trying to get something, but I've also approached several different companies, and so far not really received much of a positive response at all. So I'm hoping, I mean, I've set up this crowdfunding thing, which was actually a friend's suggestion. And I mean, I personally feel quite uncomfortable with self-promotion, and find it quite difficult. But that's where I'm at. So I'm hoping that people will sort of assist through this crowdfunding platform. And I mean, it doesn't, I'm certainly not looking for sort of hundreds of £1,000s from anyone, actually, or tens of thousands of pounds from one particular sort of source. But anything that comes from anyone is a help. And so far, I mean, I've had a number of people, mainly personal contacts, who have been extremely generous and sort of helped out, donated something towards
Amazing.
it. But I still need quite a bit more, actually.
Well, I think it's brilliant, and also I think you're a really good role model for young women, and single mums as well. And it's good for your son to see you competing at this level. I mean, what does he think when he sees you doing all this training? I suppose he's just used to it, is he?
He is used to. He actually really likes it when I'm doing my turbo, because I do it often in the kitchen. So I get my bike in and put it up on the stand, and he sort of sits there, and we have a little rule that he can have half telly and half reading. So he enjoys being there and half telly, half reading, and he says he likes the sound of it. So
okay.
But I agree with you. I think it's really important for him to see me. It's great for him to see me as a mum and as a single mum doing something that's something extraordinary. It's not what most people do. And I also think it's important for other people who are overcoming barriers and challenges and obstacles, to fulfill their own dreams and desires and wishes, to see that's possible. I mean, but it has taken a lot of hard work. It is taking a lot of hard work. I've lost my train of thought.
And you've had setbacks because having an injury like that requires surgery, extensive surgery as well. Did you ever think, I can't put my body through this, I just can't do this anymore?
Well, I still do sometimes. Not because of the injury, but because it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm sat there on my bike thinking, oh, blimey. But no. I mean, did I ever think that? No, I didn't, actually. I'm a bit stubborn.
You're focused, you've
determined,
got that mindset.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, because I read something about you were cycling up the Tour de France route, up the mountains, when you were pregnant. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was quite amazing. It was I was 6.5 months pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, it was incredible, because I was coming out of elite cycling, professionally at that point. So I was still very, very fast, even with this baby growing inside me.
Amazing. Did it put you off balance at all, actually, being pregnant?
No. But I was very careful on descents. So I mean, I'd go as fast as I could up, because you can only go so fast. But on descents, I was much, much more cautious, because I didn't want to risk any damage. But yes, I'd get sort of these groups of men, mainly men, cycling up, and I'd sort of past them and they would do double takes. And so they noticed this massive tummy of mine, It's really funny. Yeah.
Amazing. And yeah, you were an elite cyclist before. Tell us, was it Peloton you competed at?
Well, it was in the professional tour, so the international tour, the UCI tour.
Tell us a bit about that.
It's road cycling, so that's mainly what I was doing. And yeah, you have pelotons, which basically peloton means a group of cyclists. So in a road cycling situation, racing, you get kind of these. The main peloton is the main group. So I was doing that. And my favourite style of racing was. You get very different routes. You get some really flat ones and lots of windy sort of ones, or hilly ones and kind of technical descents. And I really like the hills. So hills up, hills down are great for me. And actually, this World Championships this summer in the duathlon is I'm quite excited because it plays to my strengths. It's the cycling route is apparently I've not seen it, but apparently. It's got quite a steady, long kind of drag up and then quite a technical descent. So, yeah.
And where is that exactly?
That's in Spain, in Pontevedra.
Amazing. Well, you need to get there and hopefully you'll get all the sponsorship that you need to get you out there so you can bring home gold for Team GB.
That's the idea. I really want to go, and I do need some help getting enough money to get there. And I mean, whether or not I'll get gold is questionable, but I'd like to think I can get close. And I'm still thinking podium, whether it's gold, silver, or bronze might be an option.
That would be amazing. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
You really deserve it because you've got the talent and you've definitely got the ambition and the drive and the commitment of those 5 a.m. starts. So good luck to you, Tamina.
Thanks so much, Angela.
Thank you. You've been listening to Angela Walker in Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, comment and review. And you can find more of my work on my website, angelawalkerreports.com. Until next time, goodbye.